Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is Derek again. Just checking in, make sure everybody made it through all the snow and the freezing and the frozen and all that stuff. Today I want to talk a little bit about my uncles. I had a couple of uncles that were just, I don't know, they were just fun to be around. They made life fun and made it interesting. Ronnie and Jerry. I remember this one time we were, I was a bystander. They always competed with one another in the different things that they did. I remember they were competing in this big field, and it must have had, I don't know, it wasn't necessarily grass, but like weeds, like 2 foot, 3 foot tall. And I think it was my Uncle Ronnie, and he was on this little old motorcycle. And I imagine a guy who's like 8 foot tall, 9 foot tall on a motorcycle that's made for like a 12-year-old. That's what I remember in my head. I know it probably wasn't that dramatic, but he was a big old guy on a little bitty motorcycle. I remember and I think it was him. He's just ran real fast through this field, run through all these grass, and all of a sudden we see him, and he looks like he's Superman. Well, there was a tree stump or something. He just hit, pow, and just flew. Funniest thing, everybody laughed. Don't remember if he got hurt or anything, and if he did, it wasn't nothing new. People always getting hurt in the family. And then I think it was the same day that my Uncle Jerry was riding on a 3-wheeler they had. And he decided that in this little drive that goes into where the field and stuff was that they were riding, the motorcycle and the 3-wheeler, the entrance was like a big old, I call it a pond of water, but it was just like a big old pothole. It was huge. It was probably, 4 foot wide by 4 or 5 foot wide, just big round circle. And so my Uncle Jerry comes through real fast on that 3-wheeler, think he's gonna run right through it, and just kind of like sinks. And he's just stuck there. Of course, he's like 10 foot tall. He's just, they were just some gargantuan people. But I remember that happening too. They were just crazy. We always had a good time. I really remember spending a lot of time with like my Uncle Ronnie, my grandmother, my Aunt Lori, my Aunt Michelle. Those are the 3 that I remember the most. And I always said my Aunt Michelle was my favorite. And then became closer with my uncle, more communication with him as I got older. And then I told him he was my favorite. So as long as he believes what he believes, everything's fine. But we had gone fishing, and I remember it was Jerry, Ronnie, and myself, and we'd gone fishing. And I believe it was the Tech City Dike. I don't remember. Like I said, I don't remember, maybe 6, 8, somewhere around there, maybe not even that old. And we were in this old, like, Crown Victoria, 1979 Crown Victoria, gold, rusty color. I remember that. My grandmother drove that thing to death. Anyway, so we were out fishing, the 3 of us, and I caught a flounder. And I reeled that flounder in, and then it's a kind of a blur. But I remember us getting either getting in or already being in the vehicle and on the ride home. I remember I was sitting in the back seat with my arms up on the front seat, my arm up on the front seat like this, and listening to my uncles talk, back and forth. And then one of them, I don't remember which one it says, made the comment, said, they kind of cut their eyes back at me and said, "That's the biggest gosh darn," and they didn't say gosh darn, "fish I ever seen." And the other one was like, "I know, that was the biggest gosh darn fish I ever seen." I said, "Yeah, me too, is the biggest gosh darn fish I ever seen." They both looked at me and said, "Don't you dare say that around your mama or your grandma." And I'm like, okay, yes sir, just I'll be quiet. And so we just rode home, and I don't remember, of course, for me as a child, in situations, I only remember like the important parts. I don't remember all the little snippets in between, like, we drove home, okay, but I don't remember exactly what was said in that moment, those moments. But the important part of the story is that when we got to the house, I showed my prize to my grandmother and my mom, to the best of my knowledge. It's either one or the other or both of them. But anyway, and they were like, wow, that's a big old fish. And I said, yeah, that's the biggest gosh darn fish I ever seen. And I thought my uncles were going to shit. And I thought I was going to get the shit slapped out of me by my mom or my grandmother. And needless to say, my grandmother ended up smacking the shit out of them because they were like, you know, you don't teach that grandbaby that stuff. I was the firstborn grandchild, so I was the favorite for a short period of time until all of a sudden all my other aunts and uncles decided to start competing and everybody started spitting out babies, and then I wasn't the youngest. I mean, I wasn't the firstborn anymore, and everybody just ignored me. That's why I got in all my trouble growing up. No, that's not the reason. I was just a shit ass. I got myself in trouble most of the time. Most of the stuff I did, I deserved the punishments that I received. Yeah. But I do remember the fishing with my uncles and stuff like that. So I had good times. I remember one time being at my grandmother's apartment, which I think I'd mentioned earlier in an earlier video. I remember being in my grandmother's apartment, and there must have been 7 or 8 people staying in like a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartment. But close-knit family, that's just the way it is. That's the way that's the way you roll. And so I was just 2 little snippets in here. It involves my Uncle David. So I remember I was in the bedroom, and I was younger, so I probably hadn't been in school yet, or I had to be about 6 or 7. So maybe I was just, I don't know what was going on, but I was in the bedroom listening to an 8-track. I don't remember the song. I got it like stuck in my head, but I can't verbalize it. I can't find the words. I mean, I can hear it in my head. But anyway, some Uncle David come home, and I don't know, I think he got his ass chewed by my grandma or something. And so he comes in the bedroom and he's in a bad mood and says something. And I smarted off to him, and he snatched that 8-track out of there and he broke it right in front of me. Just broke my heart. For that to be like 40 years ago, it was a pretty important part of my life. So Uncle David, you owe me. So, and then there was another time that when I was a kid, much younger, maybe 7 or 8, 6 to 8 time frame still, for Christmas, I'd gotten this little race car looking thing, this little, like doom buggy looking thing, and this motorcycle looking thing. And what it is you got it and you pumped it full of air. You pumped it until you couldn't pump anymore. You had to stand on it to get one more pump in there. And then when you pulled the nozzle of this tube off of it, it didn't go anywhere. You had to just give it a little bit of a push, and it would take off. And I remember my Uncle David being outside and playing with me. I mean, I think he was more of just kind of pacifying me than anything. But he was out there playing with me. And I remember we used to put little things up, and they'd jump and go all over the place and things. We'd try to run them through mud and water and all that. So there's a good story about my Uncle David also, which is, crazy because he's just barely older than me. And, I've seen pictures when, he was 10 and I was 10, and it was like, whoa, identical. But that happens to a lot of us and on my dad's side of the family. And so, I do have good memories. They're not all bad. My mom's side, my grandmother, her mom, I used to go to their house quite frequently in North Richland Hills. And they had this huge open plan living, dining area. And when I say huge, it was huge. And even for a kid, it was huge. And even, which everything's bigger, but even as an adult, it was still pretty big. You have a huge sectional in the living room and plenty of room to play. And then you had right behind it, my grandmother had the dining room, and there was all kinds of stuff. So anyway, that not being that important, I loved Hot Wheels. Loved Legos and Hot Wheels growing up. So my grandmother used to get me Hot Wheels, and they used to get me pieces of track. So what I would do is I'd hook that track up coming off of the little pantry thing, and it would come down and it would come across the dining room table and then dip down onto the floor and then back up over the back of the couch and then down onto the cushion of the couch onto like a coffee table, down to the floor, and we put a little pillow right in front of the TV because it was one of them big giant console TV things. Put a little cushion down there for it to, if it made it, it ran into that. Coolest damn thing ever. I used to do things like that. Even when my brother was born, he's 5 years younger than me, so when he got to be 5 or 6 years old, I was still, 10, 11 years old, so it was still fun to do. So we did stuff like that. My grandmother had I got a BB gun, got to keep it at my grandma's house. So whenever I would go there, they had a little sawhorse, and she had medicine. She had empty medicine bottles because she was a hypochondriac and had 47 different medicines in her cabinet at all times. So there was always an empty one somewhere. And, back then people used to put screws and bolts and nuts and all that kind of stuff in them. So I used to take them and I'd line them up on that sawhorse in the backyard and shoot them with my BB gun because they had a big brick wall. There was no windows or nothing there. It was just a backside brick wall. So that was kind of beneficial for me and all the neighbors around backyards. There was nothing really of any concern. And I was pretty responsible. I didn't shoot at people's cars or towards their properties or houses or anything like that. I was taught, really well by my mom's brothers. My dad's brothers and sisters kind of taught me all the mischievous stuff, the fun stuff. And my mom's brothers taught me a little more of the responsible aspect. So needless to say, I had more fun at my dad's brothers and sisters and my grandma's house. No, I'm just kidding. I had fun at all of them. So my uncles taught me, being responsible, and, you don't shoot, at cars, you don't shoot at animals, and, you don't, if you're going to shoot at animal, you don't shoot anything that you're not going to eat. So with the BB gun, there wasn't anything I was going to shoot that I was going to eat, so nothing to worry about there. Don't shoot it, don't shoot just to shoot. Be sure there's something back there that if it hits it, it's not going to hurt anything. Like if it's a wooden fence, BB's not going to hurt it, especially a little Red Ryder BB gun, not going to hurt it. So, something like that. So I get to shoot my BB gun all the time. I used to love going there to do that. And so, there's always good things. There's always happy parts in people's lives. There's, I don't know very many people. I don't know anybody who their whole life it rained. And there's that old saying, it can't rain every day. And it can't. Eventually the sun will come out, or it just won't rain. So find those good memories. Hold on to those, because those define you also. Those help build you up. Those are who make you who you are, not define you. They make you who you are. Good things, bad things that have happened to me in my life make me who I am today. I'm not embarrassed by any parts of my life. I've made mistakes. I've made mistakes that I wish I hadn't made, but I'm not ashamed of anything I've done. I'm not ashamed of my life. I have regrets. I have disappointments, typical things, but I have a lot of happy moments, good moments. All three of my boys were great moments. It's just, don't let the bad stuff define you. Don't let it become you. Don't let it take over your soul and your being. Just, find what makes you happy and do it. This journey here is new for me. Being on YouTube and things of that nature. Apparently my son Nicholas has had this in the works and planning for over a year. Wish he'd have told me sooner, pushed me sooner. But I really enjoy it. I like sharing. I like getting all my stuff out of my being. I like clearing my baggage. Empty out all my junk that's left in my head and everything. Make room for new stuff. So that being said, everybody be safe. Hug somebody. Make a difference. Make a world of difference. Not just a little old side hug, not one of them little, those bougie hugs where you just touch each other's back and you don't even touch. Give them a big old hug. Wrap your arms around them. Embrace them. Feel their heartbeat. Let them feel yours. Makes you feel good to be alive. Thank you again for watching. If you like this video, if you hit like and subscribe. I don't have the little thing, so I'm just going to point, okay? So if you'll like and subscribe, hit the bell and it'll ring whenever I annoy somebody. And I appreciate everybody watching and all their support. Leave a comment. I'll answer it. Y'all have a good night. Thank you.